And the Oscar goes to Nomadland.
Welcome back to The Better Half. I'm Bradley J. Halverson, and here with me, she's my better half. It's Carly Corio. Hi, Carly.
Hi, Brad. It's so nice to be back in the studio.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, 2026.
We
Feels
made it.
Good.
I don't think either of us are big resolution girlies, but have you thought about at all, what you want your 2026 to look like? Do you have any ideas of your hopes and dreams, your goals?
I really want to watch, 25 Best Picture winners this year. What about you?
Girl, I got some good news for you.
Yeah, that's a big one. And, be healthy, be happy.
Yeah, I think when you said be happy, that really resonated with me. 2025 sucked. I'm glad to leave it in the past. So yeah, I'm hoping just for a better year and to think through situations differently and be less burdened by life.
Protect your peace.
And we got a good movie to talk about here about burdens of life.
Yeah, and what life could be or how to take life into your own hands when you want to.
Yeah, exactly. We are here to talk about Nomadland, directed by Chloé Zhao, released in 2020. It won Best Picture at the 93rd Academy Awards, which took place on April 25th, 2021, after being delayed several months due to COVID-19.
COVID-19?
This is starring Frances McDormand. This is also the first Best Picture that we're talking about directed by a woman.
Amazing.
We made it.
We made it. It feels really good. And really, this movie is just a woman. There's very few male people in the whole movie. And there's not many people at all in the whole movie, but it's 1000% centered around a woman, which is nice.
Yeah, when I said starring Frances McDormand, that was Frances McDormand, period.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
I know. I looked up the actors. I was like, all right, Frances McDormand, and that is it.
For those curious, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later as well, but yeah, Chloe is one of 3 female directors we'll talk about who's directed a Best Picture winner. And so Chloe's actually the second, and it happens here in 2021. So that should give you some sort of idea of how long it took to reach this milestone in the Academy Awards history.
And how rare. That's less than 3% of the movies. That's nutso.
Nutso. That's wild. Well, before we get started, Carly, I want to hear your short synopsis. I love them.
Nomadland 2020. A woman in her 60s who, after losing everything in the Great Recession, embarks on a journey through the American West, living as a van-dwelling modern-day nomad.
Love.
Love. And that really is what the whole movie is, and they do not stray from that one bit.
No, when they said Nomadland, we said Nomadland, period. That's the movie.
Uh-huh.
I do kind of want to set this up a little bit. This is a movie kind of unlike any we've done thus far. And I think in a lot of ways, this movie feels like a documentary, although that it's not. But it doesn't follow a conventional sort of plot, a beginning, middle, and end. We really are. I think this movie takes place over the course of one calendar year where we're just following Frances's character, Fern. And there aren't a lot of these other characters, like you said, Carly, but that she does have a ton of these small, quiet, intimate sort of interactions with these strangers, these folks who are part of this community. So I'm sure my recap won't do the justice of all the really beautiful small little moments this movie offers. There's not even a lot of dialogue in this movie. There's a lot of just wide shots of the scenery and of Fern just sort of living her life as a nomad. So yeah, I just want to set that up. But yeah, let's get into it because we do get treated to a title card. So we get some quick information right away. And what we learn is that this USG plant located in Empire, Nevada closed down, and clearly this was the lifeblood of this whole community because when it shut down, it said that the zip code for Empire, Nevada went away.
The zip code,
yeah. So it basically shut down this whole town, and this is of course where Fern is from, Empire, Nevada. So
it does also set it in 2011, just for a note.
Yep. A few years removed from the 2008 recession. So that time period is important. Good call, Carly. But yeah, when we first see Fern, she's at a storage container and she's given away all her possessions. We'll find out later this scene actually takes place towards the end of the movie. We circle back to it, but she's given away her possessions. But we do get this moment where she picks up clearly a man's coat and she holds it close to her and hugs it a little bit. And we're going to learn too that Fern has lost her husband. So in addition to their livelihoods connected to this USG plant, their home in Empire, Nevada, she's also lost her husband. So I think all that's important for you, the listener, to keep in your mind, because that's the headspace this woman is at. She just lost everything, really, in one swoop.
We see her driving away from the storage unit, and we just open on her peeing in the middle of like an open field. Like, you see Fern and you hear pee.
It cuts to Nomadland, like the title card,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how we're introduced to her as a nomad, is her just peeing in the middle of this desert area. And I also, I wrote peeing very far off the road. Like, I can't believe how far she walked out from her van. Like, sorry, if I'm peeing on the side of the road, I'm squatting right beside my van and I'm running as fast as I can back inside my van. Like, she really hikes it off the road. I don't know if you clocked that at all.
I think I'm more in the Fern camp. I think I would walk about a mile away so that certain that nobody saw me. But yeah, most people just
see you. But yeah, they showed her van in the background and it was like so small. I was like, wait,
yeah,
you walked that far to go pee? And it's December or something, and it's just life on the road, I guess.
I think it's important because I think this movie doesn't shy away from like the true everyday life of a nomad. And
yeah, it's not the first bodily fluid we'll see.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of people would be like, but wait, what about the bathroom situation? Like that's like the number one question for like Survivor players is like, wait, what do you do though to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
This movie will answer all of your bathroom related questions.
Totally. In a very, using a lot of sound. Also, and I don't know if you're going to get to this, but she's like checking into this like temporary like camp where she's parking
spot,
yeah. And she's checking in and she's like, what's your name? She's like, Fern. She's like, no, I don't see a Fern. And then she's like, try MCD. And then she's like, oh yeah, I got it. Like she's looking up. And so I was like, oh, that's like her last name in real life, MCD.
And I'm sure, Carly, you're going to get into it with the actors and stuff, but there's actually quite a few real people playing themselves in this movie. I don't think it's a coincidence that like it's Frances, but her character is Fern. And then the only other quote unquote major actor we get is Dave, but the actor's name is David. So I think all that is intentional. But you're right. So Fern has maybe like an annual sort of seasonal position at an Amazon packaging company. And we get like a montage of her just working at the facility, interacting with some of her coworkers. But there's one in particular that she seems to be friendly with, and that's Linda May, played by Linda May. I thought immediately in the first opening montage, you see kind of the orientation of everyone getting there. You can see that Fern like knows the ropes, She's like, okay, yeah. But Linda May is very much like, welcome, everyone! Are you here for Amazon?
Oh, yeah! And everyone's just kind of like looking at her like, yes. Linda May, from the start, you're like, okay, this person is energy and you just love her.
Yep. And we're going to learn, I don't want to say quite a bit about Linda, but we are going to learn probably the most information about Linda here because she's in a similar situation as Fern, but you also get the sense that she's been kind of living the nomad lifestyle maybe a little bit longer than Fern, knows people in this community, knows the ins and outs. And so we do see Fern kind of showing Linda May the inside of her van. And Fern's van is very important, basically a character in itself in this film, because this is where Fern is living inside this van. And she has decked out the inside of it with like counter space. She has like a little like stove, like a little burner.
I just loved, there was like this, like, I don't know, 6-inch by 12-inch little flap that like flaps down. And she's like, and then look, you like unscrew this and you flap down, more counter space. And it's like a 1 square foot worth of space. But she's so pumped about it. And Linda May's so like, proud. Oh, yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah, and not even like sarcastically, like Linda's like actually like, wow. Yeah, like,
and you see throughout the movie, Fern continues to make updates like that to her van, and they say here, like, home isn't just a word, it's something you carry within you. The idea of these people's vans, and we learn throughout that everyone's named their vans just something different. Fern named hers Vanguard, but it is like they just have so much pride and intention in their vans, which is obviously their homes. And I follow a lot of people on TikTok, or I don't know if I follow them, but they just always come up on my For You page, but that live in vans. And I feel like it's this cool, like, younger person thing to do, but seeing this generation of people do it, it was even more, like, fascinating, and I just loved that. Yeah,
you get the sense, because, like, Linda, like, asked her, like, oh, what's the name of your van? And, like, just the way she asked the question, like, gives you this feeling that, like, it's customary, like, it's a part of the culture, that, like, you name the van, you name the vehicle. So you start to learn that there's just, like, this whole other world that you might be too privileged enough to really know or to think about or to understand it all. So, but But yeah, she's named at Vanguard. She also takes a moment to show Linda some like fine china that she has, some of these plates that she has that her dad gave her called Autumn Leaf or something like that. And she's really proud of these plates and she doesn't have many of them left. But Linda, of course, is like, oh, wow, I love. And not sarcastically either, like she really does. So at a certain time later, Fern and Linda also have another conversation where Linda's talking a little bit more and sharing a little bit more about her story. And she said that like when the 2008 recession like hit, it really hit her hard. And there was a moment in time where she considered ending her life and blowing up her whole like van with her 2 dogs. And then she kind of looked at her 2 dogs and was like, I can't do that to them. And then she was like, and I can't do it to me either.
Yeah, I can't do it to me. That was so sweet.
But she goes on to say that, like, when she checked her Social Security, she's only going to get $550 a month from Social Security. And she said, I've worked my entire life. I've been working since I was 12 years old. I raised 2 daughters, and it all just amounted to $550. I don't know. For me, like this, it's like tough. It's like tough to hear this stuff because I think like, we're talking about like 2008 and 2011, but I think even here in like 2026 is a reminder that like there are systems in place that don't actually take care of you and that, you know, we're like mere decades away from potentially being Linda.
Yeah.
So this is where Linda brings up this man, Bob Wells, who apparently is like this notable nomad. She shows Fern like a YouTube video of Bob giving like a spiel about this like nomadic community that he's building out in Arizona. And Linda's like, this is where I'm going next. You should come with me. And Fern is initially like, no, I'm good. And Linda's like, well, I'll draw you a map anyways. And so I'll draw you a map.
It seems very culty, like this Bob Wells guy.
Yes.
I was kind of like, oh, is he going to be like an
he a bad guy?
antagonist? Yeah, I was like, is he a bad guy in this? And we do come to meet and learn more about Bob Wells. But I was, and I think you're supposed to, as the viewer, kind of get, that's what Fern was probably thinking, like, no, not for me.
She said, he looks like Santa Claus. She's like, yeah, he gets that a lot. But yeah, this idea that what he's talking about might be just too good to be true, you know, may not be real. Fern stays cautious here. She wants to stick around the area and find a job. And Linda's like, good luck with that. Mm-hmm. So Linda heads off. And again, now the winter months are really like picking up. It's getting like colder. We do get this quick scene where Fern is at a store buying some things. And this like woman approaches her with her like 2 like teenage daughters. And she's like, Fern, hey, it's me. And she's like, oh, Fern, you're here again. We're like, are you working for Amazon again? Kind of well-intentioned. She's like, are you still doing the van thing?
Yeah.
Fern's like, yep, yeah, I'm doing the van thing.
Doing the van thing.
And this woman does offer, like, Fern, like, you can stay with us if you want to. And Fern very quickly and firmly is like, I'm good. You don't need to worry about me.
Well, and part of this scene was you open up and you just see Fern almost asleep on like a weight bench in the middle of a Walmart. And you're like, she has her eyes closed. She's like leaning back and then she does kind of wake up and she's walking around Walmart and then she runs into these people. So,
and the mom steps away and one of the daughters like walks up and Fern's like, oh, you're still like the smartest girl in school or whatever. I guess like Fern used to like tutor this girl. Maybe she's younger. Like a hint at what her life was in Empire, Nevada, that you get the sense that like she was, you know, clearly not a nomad. She was like the rest of us, like in the community, whatever. And so this teenage girl very rudely is like, my mom says you're homeless. And Fern's like, no, I'm not homeless. I am just houseless.
I'm houseless. And that's not the same thing.
Little girl.
Yeah. And this girl couldn't care less. She's like, okay.
All right, yeah. We get 2 interactions now where somebody's like offering help to Fern and Fern is like very politely saying, no thanks, you don't need to worry, I'm good. And like I said, the months get colder and she's living in the van. At one point she's like outside this like gas station and the manager said it was okay, but she kind of comes out there again worried about Fern and as the third person to sort of offer up help and says, you know, there's a church down the street, like they would let you stay there. And Fern's like, I'm good, you don't need to worry about me.
And we see that it's very evident. At one point we see her like celebrating the new year in her van.
Yeah.
So she's like asking this Amazon camp or whatever if she could stay a little longer and they're like, no, like the season's over. So you see that like her seasonal gig is up and so she's like trying to figure out, and that's when you see all these like cold weather things and she's kind of trying in the nomad fashion to like see what's next, you know?
She has a scene with like this like recruiter gal or like this temp agency and recruiter lady. She's like, well, you've done a lot of jobs, but like, I just don't know what you would be qualified for. And I just think that's just such a terrible thing to say. And it just really makes me think of like places of employment have, I think, raised their standards a little too much. It's just like, because Fern responds, she was like, I need work. I like to work. I like work, and it's just like, it's baffling to me that like anybody who actually like wants to work should be able to find work.
Yeah.
And for Fern, this is really like her realization that this is a dead end. There's nothing, she wants to stay in the area. She wants to find work in the area, but this is what gets her on the road in Vanguard, heading to the desert in Arizona to Bob Wells's community. Yeah. When she shows up there in the desert, there's all sorts of like people's vans, RVs, some tents. There's already a group that's sort of like sitting in lawn chairs, all just like sitting in a circle. And, Bob is there, Mr. Santa Claus giving like a speech.
His camps are his like yearly thing. It's called RTR, which stands for Rubber Tramp Rendezvous.
Yeah, it's like Fern shows up, sees Linda, and like a man immediately is like, here, have my chair, like sit. And like, it's just like immediate how Fern is like welcome to the community. Like nobody questions why she's there or that she's just showing up in the middle of this speech. But Bob giving this monologue, and he was like, hey, I use this metaphor of like workhorses. And, we as workhorses, we work our whole lives until they finally put us out to pasture. And basically the Titanic is sinking, and I'm trying to get as many lifeboats out there as possible. And this is where Fern raised her hand and says, will the lifeboats be seated according to class?
She does not ask that. Well, and he says, I'm trying to get as many lifeboats and get as many people onto those lifeboats as possible. So it's like, love the shit out of Titanic. And it's a really good metaphor for what's going on here and how he's just trying to, bring like some safety or some, sense of hope to these people that feel like they have just been cast out. And it's horrible to think, again, that these people are doing it not like as young influencers who are living in a van for fun, but out of necessity. And I think it does turn into a little bit more of like, this is the life I enjoy now. A lot of these, you'll learn that they kind of enjoy this life, but it's not, they didn't do it by choice to begin with. I think right there, you're like, oh, okay, so this Bob guy, he's like, cool.
I did. I really liked the speech. And again, it felt a little too real. It's this idea that like you could work your entire life and then society will one day say that like, you're done. We don't need you anymore. Or like your value is no longer worth the work that you can give. And so you are sort of just like cast out like this. And it feels like something like you don't think about until potentially it happens to you. And just to think that all these folks come from a similar background of like working their whole lives and being described as like a workhorse, and like you work your whole lives and this is how you're thanked. This is how you're rewarded. You're cast out. You're given next to nothing in Social Security. Or I forgot to mention that recruiter talking to Fern was like, have you thought about early retirement? And Fern's like, I can't live off those benefits right now. And that's when she's like, I need to work. I like work. So it doesn't feel great. And that's why like Bob really isn't an antagonist. And like, it's cool and neat that like he's bringing these folks together for at least a sense of community. And we start to get into like a montage where like at a campfire scene, like we're hearing from just different strangers, a PTSD soldier talking about his experiences, a lot of folks who had family members who got cancer or got sick, who died. And again, all these like beautiful, small, kind of quiet, intimate moments that the movie takes the time to do. And so you start to see Fern like start to learn some nomad skills, like, I don't know, she's like drilling a hole into a tire. I don't really understand that one.
It's like to patch it. Like if you run over a nail and you need to fix your tire, you like need to make the hole bigger. It's like how to patch your tire, basically. I just really like this montage. I think it was, even like car care, like how to take care of different parts of your vehicle. And it's things. And then I'm sure you're going to get into this, but like the poop bucket seminar lady, it was just very cool to see what topics came up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to like do a deep dive into the poop bucket seminar, but basically this lady like brings out like Russian dolls worth of buckets, and it's like, here's a 5-gallon bucket. This is what most van dwellers will use for their toilet. And then she's like, but some people don't want to take up so much space. So then she pulls out this like really small bucket, and she's like, this is a 2-gallon bucket that you can use, but you have to empty it more often. And then she's like, and here's a 7-gallon bucket, and like pulls out this huge bucket. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh, like taking notes. And it's just so funny. And this woman is so funny about it.
She's like, if you got bad knees, here's the like 7-foot bucket.
Oh, yeah, exactly. She's like, there's accommodations on the road even for your toilet. And it gave me kind of the vibes of not poop related, but in Parks and Rec when they're doing this different sizes of, this is our child size.
How is this a child size?
Well, it's the size of a child if you were to liquefy it. So funny. When she like kept bringing out different cups, I was like, oh my God, that's just like that.
They really are all like having fun. Like the folks listening to this are like laughing, making jokes or whatever. These are not folks just sort of maybe as you would expect that they're all just like sad Charlie Brown walking around aimlessly in circles. Like it really is a sense of community and that they're really there for each other. And they all come with different experiences and can teach each other things, which is cool. So
it's like any job, any group of people have like conferences, you know, and like seminars. And I think about, I watch some reality shows about like little people and they always go to this like little person conference and they're like, for that 1 week, like we feel normal. Yeah. And normal is a bad word, but like they feel like included. They feel like they're the majority and they're in their place with their people. And so I feel like that's very much what this gave off is they all felt comfortable. They were all talking about topics that they can all learn from and share. And it gave you a very warm feeling to just watch this. And that Bob Wells guy, he knows what he's doing. It's a cool community that he created, really.
Yeah. And so we do kind of quickly get introduced, or very briefly, we do see Dave, who will be a little bit important later in the film, but him and Fern have a little exchange where like he gives her a can opener or something like that. And then they all go to like a local bar and they're all doing some like country two-step thing. Ugh. And Dave and Fern like do a little, like, he like asks her to dance and they do a little slow dance and stuff. So put a pin in that right now. Cause then when we next see Fern, she's got a flat tire. So, and unfortunately she can't fix this one with the skills that she's learned. So
right before her van breaks down, we see her just kind of like, you know, enjoying her van, hanging out, I think reading a book. And then you see her like, oh no. And then she pulls out her, as trained, 5-gallon bucket and we just see her completely poop and we hear it and
noises and all
and it's one of those, you know, catch you off guard kind of poops. But I read in some of the things I was seeing that actually happened and I don't know how real that is, but
we know that Frances McDormand is a very committed actor. It wouldn't, I'm just saying, surprise me, but
I read somewhere that her and the director Chloe were like doing some screen tests and like testing some things and that they were just kind of recording whatever they were doing because they wanted to get some just like, you know, filler shots and that this actually happened. So I did read that. I don't know how true it is. If we ever meet Frances or Chloe, we should ask.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. First question.
First question I'll ask. Absolutely.
This whole poop bucket situation, such a nightmare for me. It really is. Like,
I immediately was like, Brad is cringing. Brad's crying somewhere watching this.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, I clearly didn't write any of these poop or pee scenes down, and you got me covered there, because I just wanted to pretend she wasn't going to the bathroom.
Yeah. Secondhand embarrassment, anxiety, stress was real.
So yeah, Fern gets a flat tire, and she has to go over to this, like, the nearest closest, like, van of somebody. So she, like, knocks, and this is where we get introduced to Swanky, who's like, don't you see the flag is up? That means don't disturb.
Well, it's funny. There's this big, like, pirate poison skull flag hung up, and you're like, who's in this van? Because she kind of clocks it earlier, and she looks at it, and it is. And then this woman answers, and
yeah. So Swanky, like, she's a woman, I think in her 70s or so, and yeah, she's very quick because Fern is like, I need you to take me into town. I got a flat tire, and Swanky's like, what? You don't have a spare? And Fern's like, no. And so Swanky is gonna, like, chastise her, and she does end up taking her into town and to a shop, and it's there that Swanky's like, listen, this is like life or death out here. Like, you need to have a spare tire. Like, you can't be making mistakes like this. It's not all glamorous. Like, you gotta take care of your shit bucket.
Yeah. Your literal and figurative shit. You have to take care of it.
And she also has, like, a couple of comments about, like, the state of Vanguard. She's like, it's looking a little ratty. And Fern's like, it's not ratty. She's got a little dirt on it. And Swanky's like, no, that van is ratty.
That's ratty. She basically, like, had Fern help her, like, paint her van in return of the favor of driving her into town. And then, she's like, all right, grab that paint and help me this. And then I'm going to give you that paint because your Vanguard needs some help.
And Fern does, like, go over and she's like, she picks out, like, a particular area in her van. She's like, ratty. Like, admits it. We get a couple of scenes with Swanky here, and it really is like a Swanky arc a little bit. It's part of the movie here, but her and Fern do get, like, close, like, they're friendly, but at some point we do see Swanky giving away her possessions, and she's telling Fern, like, hey, I'm planning to take a big trip. I'm planning to go to Alaska. You know, my son and I used to, like, go here to this, like, particular lake area or whatever, and we would collect and find, like, these rocks, and she has some, like, in this, like, glass display that she shows Fern, and she was like, when I die someday, I hope my friends will take a rock and toss it into a fire for me. So she's given away her possessions, but Swinky seems a little out of it, a little like woozy, a little like lightheaded. And so Fern's like, Swinky, what's going on? What is this trip really about? And Swinky shares with us and with Fern that she has cancer, that she's dying. And I think she says, like, I'm in my 70s. Like, this is how I want to spend the end of my life. I want to get to Alaska. I want to get to this spot. I don't want to be in a hospital room when I go. Like, this is how I want to end my life. And so Fern, of course, is like sad, but this is a part of the nomad life where like these folks are just kind of in your life so temporarily. And like, yes, there's a sense of community, but people are coming in and out of that community all the time. And so even though we're just getting introduced to Swinky in the film, Swinky already is like, see you down the road, Fern, and gets in her van and she takes off for Alaska. And so exits the movie. So
yeah. Swanky, I just love Swanky. Loved her. I just loved it. And this was when I looked up, are these people real nomads? And you learn that they really are. And it was just so cool you have to believe there's some truth in the real Swanky story and this Swanky character. And it was just cool that Chloe gave real nomads the opportunity to like portray any version of themselves.
Yep. Swanky played by Swanky, not Hillary Swanky, but
that would be diabolical. Hillary Swanky, Brad, please.
I know, it just popped in my head. I was like, I gotta find a way to work that in.
You always plan these puns. I was wondering if that was planned or not.
It was planned in the moment.
Really quick, while we're ha-haing, I wrote and I just realized that I didn't bring it up, but when they're all like at RTR, like sharing stuff, you see them sitting around the fire and they're singing "In Our Vans Again." We just can't wait to get in our vans again. And they have like this whole version of that song. Yeah. It was just cool to see all of them so happy together.
And this really kind of concludes like the Arizona also part of the journey, because like Fern also is moving on. Her and Linda May are heading up north now to South Dakota, to the national park, the Badlands. This is where I believe the Mount Rushmore is, a national monument that Carly would probably beef with if she saw it.
She takes a picture in front of like a very small version of, remember, it's like a very small like clay cutout of it, and I was like, I swear that's what I would feel like at the actual Mount Rushmore. I would get there, I'd be like, this is it. Yeah, exactly. But also when she's driving to South Dakota, I feel like we need to bring up, like, we see it's just a montage of her traveling, and we see her just fully nude floating in the river.
Do we? Oh, I was not.
Brad, please, you missed that? I
must have been looking down taking note, or my eyes just naturally glaze over the body of a naked woman. Like, I just I can't register it if I see it.
Oh, you see full nudity, full boobs and bush.
Oh, okay.
So if you're at all interested,
freeze frame, 30 minutes, 20 seconds.
Yeah, put it in the Instagram.
Instagram will take it down.
No, that's good. I'll continue to take on this responsibility of reporting on all bodily fluids and female nudity in every movie. Imagine if it was a full
Carly.
Frontal nudity of a man, and like you would have had a full section dedicated. Yeah,
I would have been like, let's talk about the length, let's talk about the girth, let's talk about.
Yeah, we can't do that with this. It was maybe like 3 or 4 seconds long, but yeah, she's like floating down a river, fully nude, just floating.
Wow.
So go back and watch it. I know you're curious. But that explains why you just scrolled right past it in your notes.
Next thing you know, she was in South Dakota. I didn't know she got there. And again, my recap is not going to be able to like do justice to the visuals of this film, but Chloé Zhao in particular, like, she just nails the sort of practical location, the B-roll footage of like the Badlands, of just like you said, like her drive to South Dakota, I'm sure was filled with like just these picturesque American landscapes. And I think that's a very like cool feature. It reminds me a little bit of Around the World in 80 Days, which is probably like the next closest film to not really have a plot and just seems to be more about seeing the world. But to me, like, Chloé Zhao does it really well, just visually striking the whole film. But yeah, she's working now at the Badlands National Park. Her and Linda are like camp hosts. They like go around, they like help with like small ends and problems and pick up trash and things like that. And Dave, who we talked about a little bit already, he's also there. He's like kind of like a tour guide, but works the gift shop a little bit. And we do get a scene where like Fern is a part of this like tour group. We're kind of just joining in, where like Dave is espousing a lot of knowledge about the Badlands. Badlands is a very unique place. If you've ever been there, it's hard for me to describe.
Have you been there, Brad?
I have not, no.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very like you're walking in amidst like these tall kind of rock formations, almost like you're in a canyon type environment, but
Yeah.
it's not as
I actually was
grand.
like, where is she going? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, she like leaves the tour group and just like takes off.
And she like walks very quickly like she was on a mission, but she was
Yeah.
just walking away from the tour group. I was like, is something about to happen? Like,
Fern?
yeah, it was suspicious what was going on, but she really, I think, just wanted to have some time to herself in the Badlands.
Yeah, Dave eventually like, whistles out to her and she's like, hey, so...
And that is the most romantic scene in the whole movie. Yep.
Yeah. Eventually, though, Linda May, she moves on. She does leave the Badlands. So I don't know if we see Linda May for the rest of the movie, actually.
Is that a series wrap on Linda May?
Thank you so much, Linda May. You were wonderful.
I did love Linda.
Yeah, I did too. And so now we kind of enter this like Dave sort of arc of the story because it's just Fern and Dave there, and they have a couple of interactions. At one point, Fern has a bunch of ants in her van. So we see Dave kind of approaching her, and she's like taking things out of her van. She's like, I got ants. They're in my food.
Yeah, he's like, oh, ants are no problem. And she's like, they're in my food, Dave. And then he's like, all right, I'll help. She's like, no, I'm fine. I don't need help.
Yeah, but he heads over anyways, picks up a cardboard box, but the bottom falls out, and all of those plates, that china that she had, fall out and break and shatter. She's like, go stand over there.
Yeah, it was so juvenile how she yelled at him.
He's like, you don't need to raise your voice at me. That's like, this is the most conflict we ever see in this movie. But Fern, she's pretty heartbroken. These are the plates she said at the beginning of the film that her dad had given her, and we don't know much about her relationship to her dad, or she obviously cared a lot about these plates, and we see her later that night like gluing at least one of the plates like back together as best she can. So
it's interesting the things that they do have with them, you know, like they can only have so much. So the things that Fern in this situation has chosen to keep in Vanguard with her, like, you know, they mean a lot. Especially at the beginning of the movie, you see her just giving all of her stuff away. Like, these things she handpicked from her life to continue on in this stage of her life. So you feel for her.
Nomads, they really aren't attached to the things in life, and that if you need a lighter, here, just take this lighter. You know, you need a can opener, here, take this can opener. You know, like there's this kind of exchange where there's not an expectation that like you pay for it or you give something in return, but that it's just kind of built into this community anyways, that like you give and you receive, and it's just like a natural ebb and flow kind of state. But we do see Fern does have some attachments. You know, she's definitely attached to this van and to these plates, and she does have some things that she is not letting go of. And karma comes for Dave real quick, because the next time we see him, he's in the hospital. And he has diverticulitis. And Fern, she's not too mad. She goes to the hospital and they're like, yep, he had surgery. He's going to be fine. And so she's kind of with Dave in the hospital room. And we're not there for very long, because the next thing you know, they're both working at a restaurant. This place, Wall Drug. Which apparently is a real place.
Yeah.
And he's like a cook, and, you know, she's waiting tables or whatever. Or one of these nights, it's already kind of closing time or whatever, but this like strange man kind of shows up, and Fern sees him first, and he's like, hey, like, I'm Dave's son. And she's like, well, he's in the kitchen. And so we don't hear a lot of this exchange between Dave and his son, but his son eventually leaves. And so Fern then has a conversation with Dave where he explains like apparently his son and his like new wife or whatever, they're about to have a kid. So he really wants Dave to come out to California to like be there when the kid arrives. And Fern's like, that's wonderful. That's great. Like, you're going to be a grandpa. Like, you should go with them. And Dave is kind of like, oh, I don't know. He was like, I didn't do a good job being in my son's life. I don't even know how to be a dad anymore. And Fern's like, you need to be there. Like, you need to go.
Yeah.
He's like, well, would you come with me? Like, he offers this little invite. And Fern, of course, in her Fern way, is like, nope. Nope. And so even though Dave has some hesitancy here, has a lot of his own sort of reservations or feelings about his lack of presence in his son's life, he does leave. He leaves the Badlands and he goes out to California. Fern's also not staying in the Badlands. She's got another job lined up in like Arkansas, I think, working at this like beet processing plant. And so we see her with some beets.
I love beets.
Oh,
I love beets.
Carly.
I do. I really do.
You just eat beets like an apple?
Well,
I
eat canned beets.
Canned beets.
Sometimes
okay.
I'll just have them as a snack.
Okay.
But my most common use of beets is on a salad, which I know you're not too familiar with.
Salad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let me make a note of how do you spell it?
Look it up. Salad. But But yes, I love beets, and that's all I could think of as she was processing these beets. That and Dwight Schrute, of course.
Yeah, we got some established podcast lore now. Carly, fan of beets.
Love beets. Love beets.
Unfortunately for Fern, her time with the beets maybe cut short here because her van breaks down, and not just in a flat tire kind of way, but like she's going to start the car and it won't turn on. And she brings it to a shop and they take a look and they let her know like she needs all these repairs. And this other guy's like, I looked up the value of your van and it's not going to be worth it.
They said it would be $2,300 to fix, and he said if you can maybe get $5,000 for this van. He's like, it's not worth it, as Brad said.
And Fern's like, no, you don't understand. I live in that van. She's got to rustle up some money, so she makes a call to her sister Dolly, who initially is kind of like, leave me alone or whatever. So Fern's like, well, I'm going to come out there and see you in person then, bitch. And she does. So she goes out to California.
And the first interaction in person is Fern ringing the doorbell over and over again. Like, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, she's like, hi, it's working. And she's like, oh, I didn't know you didn't answer the door. So you get immediately what this sister relationship is like.
Yeah. Things are a little awkward, a little tense here. So Dolly is married to George. They have like another sort of couple over that night, and they're doing a little barbecue out in the backyard or whatever. And this other couple that's there, like they work in real estate or whatever, or the guy works in real estate with George, and he's having a conversation about like, oh, like 2012, like things are starting to look up from 2008 and we're really optimistic about, selling all these homes or whatever. And Fern just kind of like laughs or has this like chortle sort of to that. And they all look at her and she was like, I just think it's kind of whack that you sell homes to people who can't afford them and you put people into debt and you celebrate that. And they're like, well, that's a limited way to look at things, Fern. We men, we know what we're talking about. And so Fern's like, okay. And later that night, her and Dolly have this nice scene where they talk a little openly with each other. Mm-hmm. First of all, no, Dolly gives Fern the money that she needs to fix up the van. And they have this conversation. Her sister Dolly is speaking openly. And I wrote down a quote.
I wonder if it's the same quote I wrote down.
Probably not.
Okay, well, if it is, then you're wrong. So let's hear it.
I think I wrote the beginning of it, but not the end. But she said, you left a big hole by leaving. And
well, no, that's not it.
Yeah. But basically saying that like Fern really like withdrew away, right? So it's like when, and maybe this was happening even before Empire and before she lost her husband, that like she said, oh yeah, because Fern kind of just like left home pretty early and then like met this guy and they got married very quickly. And then her whole life was just like Empire, Nevada, and with her husband, Beau. And her sister's like, you left a big hole by leaving. Like you didn't need us. You didn't reach out to us. And that really hurts. Dolly tells Fern, like, you were always sort of like the strongest, bravest person for always just like living life as authentically as you would.
Yeah. She said people always looked at you as eccentric,
yes,
but you were braver and more honest than everyone else. And that hit me so hard. I think, thinking back to and I think it was kind of like, growing up was the intention of this. And you just think of people growing up and the people that just knew who they were. A lot of people looked at like the weirdos in school, and the cool people were those that like put on this fake ass facade. And in looking back, you can see, wow, those people that were themselves in high school, like they were braver and more honest than anything, and it makes me wish I was more myself. And you wonder how different your life would have been. But I think that's part of what Dolly's confiding in Fern about. Like you've kind of always had it figured out, but people have always judged you for it.
I took it to also mean like, I think it's so easy for someone on the outside to look at your nomad life and call you eccentric or call you weird, or as we saw many times, a lot of people expressing worry, concern, it sends the message that like, you're supposed to be sad about this life. Failed in some way, we're giving you pity, we're giving you sympathy, and people may not understand your nomadic lifestyle, but you're brave for living it anyways. So that's kind of how I took it too, of like, it really would take strength and bravery to like live a life that that the people in your life wouldn't understand really, and you go out and you do it anyways. You're right. Just a nice little like quiet, intimate scene. And if this was a conventional movie, we would have seen like a big blow up between sisters and all this like family drama, but instead like Dolly of course gives the money to her sister and they have this honest conversation, and nothing changes here. Fern leaves and she heads off to her next spot, which is visiting Dave and his family, because they're out in California as well. And so Dave and his whole family, his son, his daughter-in-law, like they all, again, just welcome Fern immediately, completely. Like, they don't question why she's there, and they let her stay for a couple of days. I believe she spends like Thanksgiving with them. Dave and Fern eventually have a conversation where Dave says like, I'm staying here. Frances McDormand plays this really well, where like you can't really tell if she's like happy for Dave or disappointed that she's like, he's no longer going to be kind of living this nomadic lifestyle, that they're not going to be really like crossing paths anymore because he's going to be staying here. But I think she plays it really well. And again, Dave offers for Fern to stay with him, and even implies that there's some feelings there, that he likes Fern, and they have a guest house and she could just stay there with him. And he offers this reality, and true to Fern and her character, she says, no thanks. Yep.
And she kind of points out to him, because I think from her room you see outside his van, and it's like shut down. They have like a tarp over it. Like, you could see there needs to be some work done. So I think she's kind of like, you've completely removed yourself from that life, and points out that his van needs work, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think she sees like what even getting sucked into this life a little bit would mean, and I think she's just like, no, this isn't what I want.
And so she returned to Amazon, and so we get a sense that, again, the cyclical nature of her lifestyle. She's back here at Amazon, and not only to Amazon, but then when that ends, she heads back out to the Arizona desert, back to the Bob Wells community. They have convened yet again. Here she learns that Swinky passed away, but that she did make it to where she wanted to go. And so it's a very beautiful, again, campfire scene where we see them all toss a rock into the fire.
Toss a fire into rocks. No, sorry. This was
I probably missed a naked poop bucket scene too during this.
No, sorry. This was a beautiful scene, and I'm sorry that we laughed about it. But
so we get this beautiful sort of campfire scene where we see them all tossing a rock into the fire, which is what Swinky said she wished folks would do when she passed. And so
sweet.
It's a very sweet scene, followed by another very sweet scene that actually made me tear up, if you can believe it, between Bob Wells and Fern. And he tells a little bit about his story, about how his son was 33 years old when he took his life. And it took everything for Bob to dig deep, to, instead of giving up or giving in or collapsing upon himself with this tragedy, he instead turned it into the community he sees today. He doesn't want anyone in this community to make a decision to, like his son did. He wants, circling back to what he was saying about the lifeboats, like he wants to save as many people as possible. And Fern, who again lost her husband, right, and is still clearly like struggling with it in some regard, he tells her like, we don't really say goodbye anymore. Like, we just say, see you down the road. And he's like, one day I'm gonna see my son down the road someday. And
one day we'll see Swanky again.
Yeah, down
and
the
he
road.
says there's no final goodbye in this life.
Fern hears this, takes it, and the next we see her, she heads back to Empire, and we see her again at that storage container where we saw her at the very beginning, and she's giving away her possessions. She's letting go the things that she was still holding on to over the course of the movie, these material things. And then she makes it a point to stop at her old house, which has really been, of course, abandoned, depleted, like nobody's living here anymore. And I think she was telling Dave potentially when she was visiting him about this like view that she has from her backyard of this great open landscape where it just for miles until they meet the mountains. And
I loved that. This hit me because I wrote this down in the original scene. Dave was like, tell me about your house. Like, what did you have back home? And she's like, oh, it was nothing special. And then she kind of takes a beat. She's like, actually, it was special.
Yeah.
And then she tells about this, like, it was on this corner lot and you could look out this window and you see this beautiful thing. So then, like you're saying, she walks into this house and you see that view she was talking about. And I just loved how she called back on her. It's nothing special, which I think people do a lot of with, if you're just trying to explain something. But this view was beautiful. You could tell she didn't come from much, but this view was something else. And I liked seeing her go through. She went and visited her old workplace too, right?
Yeah, I think she went there first and then she stopped at her house. And I think she's not saying anything. It's just like this beautiful sort of quiet scene, but you get the sense that maybe in her own head she's saying like, see you down the road, like all these things that she was still latching on to. And she had told Bob too, like, to let go of Empire means to let go of Bo, is to let go of her husband. And that's where, it led him to talk about this, like, see you down the road sort of mentality. And I think she was going there for one final time to say, see you down the road, to be able to like let go in some way or shape or form. And so yeah, we see her at the house. We see her taking that view one more time. And then true to Fern, she gets back into Vanguard and she hits the road. And that's the end of the movie. Fade to black.
Fade to black. And then it shows a card.
Yeah.
It says, dedicated to the ones who had to depart. See you down the road.
Oh.
I know. I was watching this late at night and I was literally like, oh my gosh. And then it's cool. Next it goes through, often movies will just show the actors, and it showed Frances McDormand, it showed, David, and then it says Swanky. And it's like
Linda
May and Bob Wells. And that, I think that was all that they showed. And it was, and you're like, wow, those people were real. And it was just such a cool way to honor, again, that lifestyle by including those actual nomads.
I'm glad to see you watch the end credits, Carly. I know that those are important.
Yeah, those are really important to me always. I mean, I don't even think the music had started at this point. I think it was just still black and you see,
Yeah, this was a breezy 1 hour and 40-minute movie, and yet it's effective. It's impactful. I think for me, like this is my second time watching it. I did watch this movie, I believe, in probably early 2021, because again, this was the year after Parasite, and I talked about in that episode how I was running around watching all the Best Picture nominees. This year, I mean, COVID really did impact a lot because not a lot of movies were released in theaters, and there was a whole lot of like issues with streaming, sort of releasing big picture films on their streaming sites versus, skipping the theaters. A lot of things were delayed. A lot of productions were delayed because of COVID. So, but this one I remember just being dropped on Hulu. So I, watched it. And I will say, like, 2021, Brad, this movie did not hit me as hard. And I think I felt a little bit more watching it this time around. And for a movie that takes place in 2011, 2012, I feel like it ages well. I feel like it's still relevant in 2025, 2026. And I like it because it is so unusual from all the other films that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was only like an hour and 40 minutes. I actually looked up, I had found a list of all the Best Picture winners in order of runtime. And this is like one of the shorter Best Picture winners there is. The longest one will be like 3 hours and like 58 minutes. So
which one is that?
Gone with the Wind.
Oh my gosh, I was worried it was Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's out there too. That's in the 3 hours. So is Titanic. So
love.
But our longest film that we've covered was Around the World in 80 Days. That's a 3 hour movie, and I think it reflects in our rating.
Yeah.
So this is very much on the opposite, but it doesn't feel like it's wasting any time at all. Like I feel like every scene feels important, even if it's not driving a like plot driven story. Like it's doing something. And like I said, there was probably even more scenes of Fern talking to people and having interactions with folks because again, in a lot of ways, this felt like a documentary. This felt like we were looking in to a window of a world that exists, and they purposely sort of stay out of mainstream society.
Yeah.
And I thought, Frances McDormand like killed it. I mean, at this point, like she's already an Academy Award winner by the time this movie even drops. But like for her to carry the whole film, like she makes it look so easy, even when she's like shitting in a bucket and naked in a river, apparently. Carly, what were your sort of like big picture thoughts about the movie?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the idea of the recession impacting large towns and communities like that, I think hits Northeast Ohio and where I grew up in Southwest Ohio. There are communities that I know have been impacted like that. So I think at first I was kind of like, wow, that I'm glad those stories are being told, but then you really get to learn about this nomad life. And like I said, I, as a millennial that watches TikTok more than I should, I see a lot of adults my age that are living in vans because, it does save money and people do like that, but then they also, it's part of their influencer brand and they're doing it as like a show. But so I was like, oh cool, like somebody living in a van, but it's so not that. And I'm like wondering how Bob Wells' community and, how they feel about all these influencers that are doing it now. I would love to have a conversation with Bob about it to see if it's impacted their community at all and what that looks like. But I don't think we get a lot of stories from this generation, the older generation. Yeah. And I really enjoyed how it told the story of that older generation and how just life and what happens later in your life could impact you so much. And, at a certain point, you kind of settle into life. But if later in life, your whole life gets disrupted, you know, what are you going to do about it? What can you do about it? So
Yeah.
I liked that aspect. I love Frances McDormand. I think she's fantastic. And so I enjoyed this movie, watching it from her point of view. She just did it seamlessly. It seemed so natural, like you said. It seemed such like a documentary, where it was cool to know that this was scripted. And then, like I have said many times, I just loved that some of these people were actual members of this community.
Yeah, I think that's a good point of what could happen to you later in life, but there's also a comfort that this movie kind of gives you in knowing, like, you still won't be alone.
Yeah.
Even if this were to happen to you, or circumstances in life drive you to this particular way of living, that you won't be in it alone. There is still a community, and there's good people like Bob out there who make that a mission in their life, is to bring these folks together. Well, Carly, let's ease into our rating here. Would you like to tell people the emoji we used and what rating you gave it?
Yeah, I'm super on the fence about the rating. So we went with the van emoji.
The bucket.
Brad did bring up the idea of a bucket, which I just don't think fit the movie as well and as holistically as the van. Yeah. So we went with the van emoji appropriately, and it actually does look like a van that you would see in this movie. I've never wanted a 3.5 rating more than with this movie.
Yeah.
I think based off my, and I think this always happens when we talk about a movie together, I always like think more highly of it, you know, unless it's Chicago, which you shit on for some reason, but my initial thing was I gave this movie a 3 van rating.
If it helps you, I think I was at a 3 all the way until like the ending, when it actually like made me like tear up, and I was like, you know what, if a movie makes me feel something, I'm gonna reward it. And I'm a bit of a 4 whore. I give 4s out a lot to all of the movies. But I think when I watched it in 2021, I would have given it a 3. I think this time around, the themes and the messaging hit me a little harder. Maybe it's because now I'm an adult who doesn't get housing built into my job anymore, and I have financial worries and concerns that this movie kind of brought out in me, but then just also the beautifulness of it. I think I am gonna go with a 4 on it.
That is allowed. Like I said, I wavered back and forth, but I looked at some of the films that I gave 3s and some of the films I gave 4s, and I felt like this was a 3 for me. Yeah. So I do like that our average is 3.5, which I think is right where it should be. But what do you think about, is this movie for the gays?
No.
Okay.
There's just nothing sort of overtly or even indirectly related to sort of queer culture or like queer characters, or it's just not that story, and that's completely fine. I'm not punishing it for that reason. I just doesn't scream gay to me. So
totally. No, I never heard the word gay in this movie.
Yeah, not happy or gay as in boy likes boy. Like we never heard any
version,
any definition of the word gay. So, but Carly, is it Frances enough to make it for the girlies?
I know. I want to say yes, but I'm just gonna say no.
Yeah.
Like, I think, and would any probably girl watch this and enjoy it? Yes, but it's not like a for the girlies film. Yeah. And I mean, I wouldn't even say every girl watching this would enjoy it. And I don't think every person watching this would enjoy it. I think you have to know what kind of movie it is. I think some people close to me in my life would watch this movie and be like, this is the most boring hour and 48 minutes I've ever spent in my whole life, which I get. And I think if you aren't looking to understand the movie, like, you're not going to put this on a date night and enjoy this film together. I think it's something that you watch with the intention of enjoying a piece of art and enjoying learning a story. I'm going to say no, not for the girlies.
Okay. Well, before we talk about the ranking, let's drop that Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah.
I'll give you a clue.
Okay.
One other film we have talked has received this score, so it's not a new score.
Okay. I'm going to say a 93.
Carly, you nailed it.
No way!
You nailed it.
Oh my gosh. I'm so proud of me. And I didn't even see that. I swear. I'm always so nervous to look up stuff about a movie because they just throw that Rotten Tomato score on anything on Google. So I'm always so scared I'm going to ruin it for me. But yay. And it's the 93rd ceremony.
Oh my God, you're right. Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, so it ties with The Apartments. Kind of puts it right in the middle of the films that we have covered thus far. So feels right to me.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, well, let's talk about where we want to rank Nomadland. I do have some thoughts.
Okay. I am looking right at where I think it would go, but I'm interested what you think.
I'll take a stab at this.
Okay.
I'm thinking C tier between You Can't Take It With You and Oliver.
Brad, that's right where I'm looking.
Yes!
We did it! Oh my gosh, I feel like this has caused some tough conversations, but today we're fine.
Yeah. Put a spotlight on Chloé Zhao here.
Yeah.
She is really the second of 3 women to win the Best Directing category. So a little bit of spoiler for tonight's Academy Awards, or this year's Academy Awards, but
I was going to say tonight.
Tonight's Academy Award. Yeah, so Chloe is the second and third. The first was Catherine Bigelow, who we will talk about. And then the third one is Jane Campion, who wins the following year for The Power of the Dog, but that's not the film that wins Best Picture, so sorry to the woman who directed Coda, but she did not.
Wow, rude.
She's also the first woman of color, Chloe, to win Best Directing, so honestly a bit of a trailblazer here. She does not have like an extensive filmography up to this point. She had directed 2 features before Nomadland. Obviously, she hits it out of the park with Nomadland here in terms of accolades and recognition. And after this, she takes an interesting turn where Marvel hires her to direct the movie Eternals, which was also released. I believe she was filming both Nomadland and Eternals. And it's funny, at one point in Nomadland, you saw like the outside of a theater and the movie was The Avengers playing because it was 2012. And I was like, oh, a little bit of a Marvel nod based on where Chloe's heading next. So
yeah, she
directed Eternals. It was not well received by critics or fans, but I will say,
well received by Brad?
No.
Okay.
I will say it's still a visually striking film that's very different from the very like CGI, very heavy, Marvel movies that you would get to know. Again, there's a sense of realism, naturalism that Chloe brings to her work. Certainly there is CGI in her films, of course, but I think she made an effort to have practical effects, and again, those wide sweeping landscape shots are in that movie as well. So, and I'm predicting that later this year we'll still maybe talk about Chloe because her newest film, Hamnet, is already kind of receiving some buzz. I have not watched it yet, but it's a historical film following William Shakespeare, and it's the story of what inspired Hamlet. So I actually am interested in watching this one. It has Paul Mescal in it, who I'm attracted to. So And most importantly, though, Chloé Zhao is an executive producer and will direct the pilot episode of the Buffy the Vampire sequel series starring Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh my gosh.
That I believe will be coming out later this year. So
you'd love her.
Yeah, I am overjoyed. She's like literally working with Sarah Michelle about this sequel series. They're like 2 of like 6 women that are executive producers of this show. I'm very excited about all of that. As a Buffy stan.
Yeah.
I'm of course, nervous about a sequel series, but the fact that Sarah Michelle is a part of it, will be starring in it, executive producing it, and then they got the talent of someone like Chloe to also be an executive producer. Dolly Parton is also an executive producer for this series.
Why?
And
are you okay with that?
Yep. So I'm excited to see her direct the first episode of the series. So when I saw that, I was like, okay.
Wow. Got you bricked up.
Chloe, if you heard that, please keep listening, okay? Yeah, so let's talk about the 93rd Academy Awards. Again, it was originally scheduled for sometime in February, but it got pushed to April in order to allow more movies to be considered in the release window because so many productions were postponed or there just weren't a lot of options. But there was no host at this year's Academy Awards. This is the 3rd year in a row where there was no host. This also did not take place at the Dolby Theater where we normally see it. The ceremony took place at Union Station. And so it had a completely sort of different vibe. Folks were a lot more spread out because of COVID precautions and things like that. So Rita Moreno presented Best Picture. She is currently 93 years old, and she's really one of the last remaining stars of the golden age of Hollywood. She is an EGOT winner.
Love.
We will discuss her again because she's an Academy Award winner herself and starred in West Side Story from 1961. So,
oh, cool. I read at the time that she was like the oldest person to present Best Picture.
I believe that's true. I know Anthony Hopkins, who we'll briefly mention, but he is also like one of the oldest people to receive an Oscar at 83 years old. But let's talk about the lesser half.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So the first movie is, speaking of Anthony Hopkins, it's The Father. It had 6 nominations and 2 wins. So Anthony Hopkins does take home the Best Actor award this evening.
Is that a religious film?
No, it's like a psychological drama film.
Oh, and you have not seen it?
No, I did not. I did not see this one. I will say, like, I did a lot of work during the Parasite year. I really kind of took the year off.
You just relaxed in 2021.
I think I watched a total of 3 movies from this list.
Oh my god, somebody just said The Father is scarier than any horror movie I've ever seen. That's somebody's review of that movie.
Olivia Colman's in it as well, so it might be worth it.
Okay, let me know if you watch it.
I'll also say, speaking of Best Actor, but this year's ceremony ended with the Best Actor category. Did not end with Best Picture.
What?
And a lot of people thought that it was because they were going to give the win to Chadwick Boseman, who posthumously received the nomination. However, Chadwick did not win, and Anthony Hopkins won instead. Anthony, who was not there and had offered to like Zoom call in to accept the award, and the Academy told him, no, we're not going to do that.
What?
The next movie is Judas and the Black Messiah. I did watch this one.
Is that a religious?
No, this was a historical film around the Black Panther group. Yeah, starring Lakeith Stanfield and Daniel Kaluuya. So it's pretty good, very powerful, as you would expect. But yeah, they had 2 wins. So Daniel Kaluuya does win Best Supporting Actor, and they win in Best Original Song. The next movie is called Mank, which is around Herman Mankiewicz, who is the brother of Joseph Mankiewicz, who directed All About Eve. So this movie really takes place, like, again, in that golden age of Hollywood era, starring Gary Oldman. Amanda Seyfried's in it. They had 10 nominations and 2 wins in cinematography and production design. Next is an A24 picture, Minari. This had Stephen Yeun starring in it. And it had 6 nominations and 1 win for Best Supporting Actress. So we still have Best Actress on the table, possibly for Frances. Let's see. See if she clinches it.
We'll see.
The next movie I did see and kind of loved, Promising Young Woman.
Is that the one that you keep wanting me to watch?
Yeah, have you still not seen it? That's crazy.
No, I've not seen it.
It would rock your world, I will say. If Nomadland was going to win, and I think Nomadland's still somehow a very traditional film to win the Best Picture category, but I still have only seen Promising Young Woman only once, but it really is a movie that has stayed with me. I thought it was a knockout film.
You just want me to watch it because Alison Brie's in it.
Is she it?
This is Carey Mulligan. Bo Burnham's in it. Alison
Yes,
Brie. Jennifer Coolidge? Okay, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's worth it, Carly. It had 5 nominations and 1 win. It wins for Best Original Screenplay. The next movie was Sound of Metal. It had 6 nominations, 2 wins for film editing and sound, if you can believe it, for Sound of Metal.
I do love Riz Ahmed.
Oh yeah, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final film is The Trial of Chicago 7. This had 6 nominations, 0 wins. Trial of Chicago 7 is like a Netflix movie, so I still know that discourse around like films being released on Netflix, on a streaming service versus a theatrical release was very much, and I wonder if it contributed to the 0 wins potentially. And Nomadland gets 6 nominations and 3 wins. Of course, it wins in Best Picture, Best Directing for Chloe, and Frances McDormand does take home Best Actress. Does not win in Adapted Screenplay, Cinematography, or in Editing, but who cares? They won the big ones.
Who cares?
Let's see. This is the first Oscars where there was 2 women in the Best Directing category ever. So, again, for Emerald Fennell, who directed Promising Young Woman, and then Chloé Zhao. This made me laugh, but I saw that there was a Rotten Tomato score for this year's Oscars. And
People, they have got to stop.
And this year's Oscars got a 24% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh my gosh. Who is out there reviewing the Oscars on Rotten Tomatoes?
As it's a trend, people hated this year's Oscars. I think they hated not allowing Anthony Hopkins to just Zoom accept the award, was criticized. It being at Union Station, and they had some segments where they would go to the Dolby Theater, was criticized. And ending with Best Actor. And yeah, I just think a lot of people either had certain expectations or they felt like delaying it to April didn't improve the ceremony in any way.
You would have brought up if other Oscars were rated on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen it, so maybe I will.
Let me know if you keep an eye out, because I'm interested if there's like a certified fresh Oscar ceremony out there.
Yeah, people really hate to watch this thing. I don't know. It's like, how does it last 98 years? But yeah, that is what I have on this year's Academy Awards. Carly, I am curious what came up in your research.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Okay, great. I'll listen.
It does
maybe.
say in the end credits that I did watch that it was based on a book by Jessica Bruder that came out, and I looked into the book. It was very much a journalistic book. Like, Jessica Bruder is a journalist for the New York Times. She lived this van life for some months and then wrote this book about the van life. So she worked with people like Bob Wells was part of the book, and Linda May and Swanky were all part of the book and were met by Jessica Bruder. So I found that interesting. I guess Jessica Bruder did live in a van for months while doing all the research for this and named her van Van Halen. What would you name your van?
I'd have to do a whole bracket. I'd have to.
Oh, yeah, of course. I guess I wanted to ask, before I get into the actors, would you be able to live the van life?
No.
Because of the poop?
Yeah, I'm very much a creature of comfort. I'm very much somebody who enjoys being in my home, likes being on my couch, being surrounded by blankets, and just overall being cozy and comfortable at all times. So I think it would be a stark challenge for me to sort of pivot and live this van lifestyle. And kind of like we were talking a little bit, like, you know, we see like TikTokers and stuff. I do wonder, like, do actual nomads feel like there is sort of like an appropriation of their culture with like these young people who are like living a van or nomadic lifestyle for the sense of like being an influencer and for content creation? Right. Or are they so accepting that like that's okay too, and like anybody who's like living this life is wholly welcomed? Or is there somehow kind of rules and standards to being a nomad? Right. I think for me, I know myself well enough to know the life would not be for me. If anything, I would need like an RV. Like I would need one of those nice RV with amenities and a bathroom, and which probably defeats the purpose a little bit.
Right. At that point, you just live in a house, which is check what you're doing. So
exactly. What about you, Carly? Have you?
Yeah, I would think the same, and mine's not even so much like, I think I could make a van, and I've seen vans on TikTok and stuff that are like very decked out and comfortable. My thing is like cleanliness. Like I just couldn't live in a room where I know like a bucket of my poop is sitting. And I always see these TikTokers that have to like go shower at a Planet Fitness. Like I just couldn't do that. Yeah. I like to take my showers before bed and be clean and clean stuff. And yeah, I just like having space. So I would love to do it for like a couple weeks, you know, but it's not a lifestyle I will choose.
Right. It's almost like it would be like an exercise in sort of like human compassion, human empathy, to actually like be in the shoes of these folks. Gives you a better understanding of these folks that are often deemed, I would imagine, like forgotten or downtrodden. Yeah. So I certainly wouldn't want to do it as like a fad, or treat it like, oh, I did like a stint and then I go back to my...
I was a nomad for a couple weeks. I did the nomad thing. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then, can you like claim it like after the fact, like that sense of identity to others? And
yeah. No, I feel that. So yeah, I did some digging on the actress in the movie. I mean, I did do a deep dive into Frances. I'm glad this movie won so we could do a deep dive into Frances, because she deserves it. You know, she deserves to be honored on this well-known podcast. Kind of a legend in the awards, Hollywood awards. She's done a lot of big things. So she's the first woman and only the 7th actor ever to receive an Oscar nomination for producing and acting in the same film. And only one other person has won both. So that's just nominating. Only one other person has won both, and we have already covered him. Can you think of who that was?
Where they won like a producer credit and an actor?
Yeah, that's it.
Brad Pitt in 12 Years a Slave.
No, he wasn't nominated for actor.
Oh, I was just thinking he starred in it and then produced it, but you're right, he didn't win.
But that's a good one, but no.
$1 Million Baby? Was it Clint Eastwood?
It was Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was interesting that there really haven't been that many people that have been even just nominated for both, and then she won both, you know? Cool.
Yeah, very cool.
She also is the 12th actress ever to have the Triple Crown of acting, which is basically the EGOT without the G. You know, it's an EOT. So they call that the Triple Crown. She has 3 Best Actress wins, which she's only the 2nd person ever to do that, behind Katharine Hepburn, who has 4. She won in 1996 for Fargo and in 2017 for 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
It's impressive.
Again, yeah, like amazing. And it's not even just like, I always kind of looked at her as like this later in life hit, but like she's had such a long career, huge career, and she's married to and has been for many years to Joel Cohen, one of the Cohen brothers. So, and she's involved in like many of their works. So
makes sense. Very
tied into Hollywood, very successful, and from everything I've read, like just a good person. So I'm a Frances fan. A Frances. Yeah, big Frances. I did look into David Strathairn.
I do. I will say I recognized him, and I only know him from one movie.
What's that?
And it's The Bourne Ultimatum.
Okay, I did see that he was in some of the Bourne movies, and I was like, I think Brad has seen that.
And he stood out to me. He's really only in like, I think maybe he's like in the fourth one, but that's when they switched to Jeremy Renner for a weird moment. But yeah, The Bourne Ultimatum is like that third one of the at least the Matt Damon films, and he's a bit of a bad guy, and for some reason, like he sticks in my head. Like when I saw him, I knew him immediately from that role, from that movie. And then I did look it up too. I was like, I have to know him from other things, and it's genuinely that one and only movie.
Wow!
And somehow I couldn't even tell you that character's name, but like I know him from that movie, and it was immediate, the response.
And you said he was a bad guy.
Yeah.
And he's like a really sweet guy in this, apart from when he broke all the plates. But
right, yeah.
I only knew him from one thing. I did not recognize him, but I was like, he's in a lot of stuff, so I looked through his IMDb page, and he was actually in one of my favorite movies, A League of Their Own.
Oh.
Yeah, a long time ago. He was one of the League officials, and he's actually like, there's like 2 League officials that are in the whole movie, and he's like the nicer one that like ends up being like a good advocate for the women and stuff. So if you look back and you see pictures, you're like, oh yeah, that is him. So yeah, he is in a one of my very favorite movies ever. So I looked into Linda May a little bit, and I guess when this book was first optioned, it was actually optioned by Frances McDormand and one of the producers. They talked with Linda May a lot, and they were going to have her be like the star. They were going to have her be like Fern, and they were going to base this movie around her. But the more they talked with her, she didn't feel comfortable being like that main focus. So Frances was like, I'll do it if you have a big role in it. So Linda May was a big part of kind of the whole part of this becoming a movie. And I just think she really killed it. You would never know that her, Swanky, and Bob Wells are like not actors, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. And I would be so curious to know like what was like Chloe's like direction to each of them, right, in their scenes, and like how much of an actor did she treat them as such. And then the fact that they would be willing to be part of a major production like this too, you would think like it would kind of grind gears with like their nomadic lifestyle and just sort of being not necessarily in a spotlight. So I can see Bob, I guess, jumping on this chance, right, to sort of spread a message. But yeah, it's very cool that they got folks, actual nomads, to want to appear in this movie.
And I guess they were paid a good amount too, you know, so like these, absolutely. I think it was Swanky, I read, donated like $30,000 of what she made to some cause, which is, I feel like very nomadic, you know, just very nomadic in what their lifestyle and what they represent is like, oh, I got this gift, this blessing, and I'm going to bless this other community with it. So I looked into Swanky. Swanky has a master's in archaeology. She is very proud of her education. She has a bachelor's from Indiana University and a master's in archaeology from Ball State. And I thought how cool that she included that homage to like rocks, you know, and just like her interest in rocks was part of her character in Nomadland, which I thought was cool. She started being a nomad in 2009. So she said that she has a lot of interviews where this is like perfect. This very much represents her life. She thought that the film very much portrayed the nomadic lifestyle that they lived very well. She's very proud that she, as she states in the film, has kayaked all 50 states. So something cool.
Wow.
Go Swanky.
Go Hillary Swanky.
Hillary Swanky. And then Bob Wells, again, everything pretty much as he's represented in the film is true. He started this. He saw a bunch of people struggling to enjoy life, to make life work in this nomadic lifestyle. And so he made this community. It started as a YouTube channel and it just grew and grew. I guess the first Rubber Tramp Rendezvous that they had in 2010 had 45 people at it. And the most recent one had 10,000 attendees. So just like a community that he, you know, somebody said they need somewhere to meet and feel heard and seen and supported. And it's just cool what one person and one small group of people can do. Yeah, so that's really all that I learned. And I am glad that we got to learn about these people. And you wonder where they are. Like, what are they doing? You know, where are they?
Yeah, they could be anywhere.
They could be anywhere, unlike all the other people we talk about.
I do like the film. I don't know how much I'll like naturally sort of revisit it, but it's I'm happy it's on this list. I'm happy we watched it.
Yep.
And I appreciate it for what it is. First film of 2026. We did it, Carly.
We did it. Now let's talk about our next one.
Yeah, so our next movie will be Cavalcade, which you might be like, huh?
Cavalcade, which I first read as Cavalcada.
Yeah, this is the winner of the 6th Academy Awards Best Picture.
You heard that right? 6th.
6th. The number 6, single
1, 2, 3,
digit.
4, 5, 6.
We are going to the early 30s, and this is a bit of a mystery box for us. We really don't know anything about this movie, so it should be fun to dive in and find out
what is the deal with that.
with Cavalcade. So yeah, join us all next time, and we look forward to another year's worth of great podcast episodes.
Yeah, and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope this year is everything that everybody needs.
Exactly.
Brad?
Well, Carly.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.